This is Tea with Botha.
Please join us again as we're dealing with something that is never spoken about and very shocking. It's a silent killer in our country, in the world in particular, and it disproportionately affects men. We're talking about suicide and mental health. What is it about? And today, for insights, for someone to assist us, is here Lehlohonolo, so that she shares with us what are we talking about? The sad thing is that in South Africa, we are ranked number 10 in the whole world. Can you imagine suicide? We are part of the leading pegs when it comes to this. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Lehlohonolo, so that we get to know him more better, and then he gives us his insights as a psychologist. Lehlohonolo, welcome, Dad.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute honor for me to participate in this discussion.
Oh, thank you. But tell me, Lehlohonolo, who is Lehlohonolo? Where did Lehlohonolo come from? Where was he born? I mean, you tell us about your journey. I mean,
Yeah, I'm a lot of things, but among other things, I'm a registered counselor by profession, registered with Health Professionals Council of South Africa. I am a marriage therapist. I used to brand myself as a marriage counselor until after hundreds of cases, I said these people need therapy more than they need counseling. And then I'm also a mental health practitioner. So I actually work with couples. Now it's not only within the context of marriage, even just relationships, to help them address the mental health dynamics that play out in their marriages, especially on the illness side, to make sure that we help them to improve their well-being so that they can improve their relationship, their work, and their life as a whole. So that is shortly what I'm doing. I'm also a psychology lecturer and work integrated learning supervisor, and I supervise student registered counselors who are doing practicum. So I'm in private practice. I work mostly 90% of the work that I do is with couples, and then the rest I deal with issues like depression, anxiety, trauma. And especially depression, anxiety, and trauma. That is my special interest, particularly the traumas from the early life experiences, because those are the traumas that are not known to people's conscious minds. So, but they control most of what they do. Imagine not knowing 90% of not knowing why you do 90% of the things that you do. Like it's like there's a thief in your house and you don't know there's a thief in your house. And instead of acknowledging there's a thief in your house, you deny it and you blame people in the house for things that are missing. So I help people make the unconscious pains, hurts, traumas, aggressions conscious so that they can deal with them at a conscious level. Because if we can become aware of all the traumas and the psychological dynamics that underpin our behavior, then we can deal with them and we can become better people. But at the same time, I also help people not only identify their illnesses, but to identify their strengths, to identify their resourcefulness, to understand that in as much as I've been through the most, I have made the best of my life under the circumstances. Let's work with your strengths and take the best and make it better and help you use your strengths in your resourcefulness, your competencies to address the problems that you are experiencing, including trauma and depression, anxiety, and other relationship dynamics as well.
Oh, that's quite a mouthful. And Lehlohonolo, tell me, as we zoom in and talk about, in particular, about suicide. What's your take on it? As it relates to men in particular, what do you think is that? And I'm saying this with a very heavy heart. I had a friend who, and I think that I would say this episode one would actually dedicate it to. I had a good friend I worked with, Patriarchy, and he took his own life, must have been 2 years ago. very close to me, and I did not know science. We had not spoken about, and I did not know, whether it was a cry for help. And as a lay person myself, can you take us through what's your take on it? What are we talking about when we talk about mental health vis-a-vis men? And in particular, when we zone in and say, is it it is more pronounced, accentuated among or within men?
Right. Yeah. Suicide. Okay, let me address the other ways in which I hear people saying it. You find someone says so and so committed suicide, and you will say, "Okay, this is shocking. I'm so sorry about that. When is the funeral?" And they'll say, "No, he's still at the hospital recovering." So if you have committed suicide, it means you are no longer alive. It's an act where people take their own lives. If you try to take your own life and you don't end up losing your life or dying, we say it's an attempted suicide. It's not suicide. So we need to tell the difference there. But within the mental health space, we prefer dying by suicide instead of committing suicide.
Or dying by suicide.
Yes.
And what will be the difference?
The difference is, yes, even though it's your own act that you are doing it, there are underlying causes and pressures that pushes you to do it that are, we can say, they can be said to be beyond your control. Like, so it's not something that you commit, it's something that you die by. Like, for example, the primary cause of suicide is depression. So if you suffer from depression, most of the people who committed suicide, you will find that there was depression at play. And there will be other predisposing factors like drinking too much, but that is something that is happening on top of being depressed or going through serious life experiences like divorce, death of a loved one, loss of a job, when you feel like your back is up against the wall and you have no choice but to die. Like people who commit suicide, they don't see anything when they look ahead of them. It's literally the end of the road. Everything that they think about comes to, how can I find easy ways to end my life? And others, they are not even looking for easy ways. They're looking for painful ways because they want that pain that they are experiencing in the process of dying. That's why you will see somebody swallowing petrol and pouring it upon themselves and lighting themselves up. They want to experience that pain in the process of dying. So that is an active suicide that is quite violent. And that kind of suicide is associated with men. Men are the ones who hang themselves, shoot themselves in the head, fall off drop themselves off the bridge, or maybe get into a highway so that the unsuspecting car or the car of the driver that's not concentrating can be the one who hits them and to die at the end of the day. Others stab themselves with a knife and burst their intestines open. Those are violent ways in which people commit suicide. And women do commit suicide, but not a lot of them. And when they do, in most cases, you find that they swallowed a substance. Maybe they swallowed poison. They prefer the softer ways of ending their lives that are not as violent and painful as men do. So we are going to talk about the signs to look for when a person is suicidal as time goes on. But the gender paradox in suicide says more and more women are diagnosed with depression, but more men are committing suicide than women.
And why? Is it linked to being masculine? Is it linked to Kena Windorder? And where you used a very, I think, instructive word when you said where you feel that your back is against the wall, where you're overwhelmed. Am I right?
Yeah.
Why is this? And help us. Why with men? I mean,
generally from the history of time, patriarchy seems like a privilege, but it's also a burden. Like we think we benefit from patriarchy because a man does not have to lose his surname. The man does not have to cook or clean, especially in that traditional patriarchy. A man should be the one who's getting privileges so that he can take care of the family. But it's also a burden because it places a lot of expectation on men. So men are expected to be independent, autonomous. Men are expected to be the last line of defense when everything is falling apart. Men are expected to be strong. It's like when you are a man, being a man is synonymous to being strong, especially when you are a father and a husband. I remember back in the 80s, there used to be this song by Ricardo and Friends that they play on Father's Day, I Love You, Daddy. And
yes, you just played last 2 weeks ago, now the 16th.
Definitely.
Just last week,
Yeah, then there's a part where he says, I want to show you I'll be as strong as you. Why isn't he saying I'll be as loving as you? I'll be as intelligent as you. I'll be as hardworking as you. I'll be as committed as you. He deliberately chose the word strength because he was singing on top of the narrative that has already been created, that you cannot be a man and be weak at the same time. So men try to be strong, and when they find that they can't be strong, they're afraid to reach out to anyone because reaching out to them is a sign of weakness. So when my back is up against the wall, even though someone can help me out, I don't reach out because I will be signaling I'll be signaling a weakness. And if I signal a weakness, that means I'm not a man. So when you are not weak, you are not a man. I mean, and I mean, I'm not a very old person, but when I was a boy and I was crying for anything, any male figure that I was looking up to would say to me, no, you don't have to cry. Boys don't cry. I remember one day I got stabbed with something that is very sharp. I just had to keep quiet, take scent and put it on the wound and like blocking all the pain on the inside of me. So that's one of how we have been socialized, that as a man you can cry, as a man you can express emotions, as a man you can express weakness. I was listening to a conversation on a radio station in the evening, around 8 past 7 to 8. It was a discussion of the presenter and two gentlemen. They were talking about men's experience with loss, especially when they have lost their children to death. And then that conversation, it made me think of a number of things. One of the people, I don't remember if it was a listener or a guest who was contributing. He said something like, when we lost our child, my wife was mourning, and my wife asked me, do you even care? Why are you not mourning with me? And he said his answer was, no, while you mourn, I have to make sure that everything is fine. I don't have the space and the privilege to mourn because I have to make sure that you are okay. You have enough time to mourn, and I have to make sure that I take this thing like a man. And I wished I was part of that conversation so that I can say to that person, your wife needed you mourning with her, not showing up strong for her. So we say our wives and women in our lives are putting too much pressure on us. No, we are putting too much pressure on ourselves, and we bite our wives and our sisters and our girlfriends and aunts and our aunts and friends who are trying to ease the burden for us. The wife was like, I'm crying here alone and you are trying to be strong for me. Come, let's cry together. And I would have said to the man, go to your wife and cry together. Let your wife know that you are feeling the pain that they are feeling, because now you are locking it on the inside. 6 months later, your wife is feeling better and you cannot cope with whatever loss that you're experiencing. One painful truth about having to suppress our emotions and failing to express them is that the emotion that you suppress, it actually the emotion that you resist, it actually persists. If you suppress it, it will express yourself. If you suppress it when you can explain it, it will express itself when you cannot explain it. So now you are carrying lingering emotions that you suppressed, and if you explain yourself, nobody understands and nobody cares. That you should be over your mother now. It's been 7 years since she died. You refuse to cry when people could understand that she's gone. Now people can no longer understand. 7 years later, you want to cry. And now you start engaging yourself in self-harm and ultimately suicide. The other reason why more women are diagnosed with depression than men is because women go for counseling. Women go to the doctors. Women go for psychotherapy. Women do see psychologists and counselors. I'm in private practice now for quite some time. In this 15 years in private practice and 18 years in the profession. So I can tell you that less than 5% of men come for counseling on their own. Most men come to counseling when the wife wants a divorce. And they have made up their mind. He can see that this woman has made up their mind. They come to us hoping that we can talk their wives into forgiving them at the end of the day. It's very, very, very few men, like men who I'll be doing talks in men's conferences, and psychoeducating them about their mental health and their psychological experiences. And they would say, oh my goodness, based on what you said, I realized that I need help. Then they start making appointments with me. But they don't go on their own, because that in itself, the act of going to see a therapist, it means you're going to have to allow another man, or even worse, a woman, to tell you how to manage your life. And they think in therapy, we tell them how to manage their life. No, we help them identify the underlying causes of their grief, their misery, their maybe struggles, so that they can be able to deal with them, and at the same time show them that, men, there's a reason why you have made it this far, regardless of all that has happened. That is resilience. And that means you can bounce back after you experienced setbacks and difficulties in your life. So how can we use more of that resilience to build a better future for you and to help you face the problems that you're experiencing? But they don't know that we talk about things like that. They think we are going to confront them as well. We're going to add to what the society expects. You are a man, you should be the man and wear the pants and make sure that you take responsibility. But they don't understand that we do understand that human experience has no gender.
Say that again. Human experience has no gender.
Human experience has no gender. Men feel like women do. Men need to talk like women do. Yeah. It's not like men don't want to talk. Men want to talk. I interact with men, and when I sit with men and they see that there's a safe space that I'm creating, they talk nonstop, and that goes for boys as well. So men stop talking when they feel like no one is listening. Number 2, men stop talking when they feel misunderstood. Number 3, men stop talking when they think they will be judged for what they are about to say. Number 4, men stop talking when they feel like what they say today will be used against them tomorrow. So, and as men, naturally, we prefer figuring things on our own. Figuring things out on our own. So the more problems we have, the less we talk. The more problems women have, the more they want to talk, because they are actually driven by the need for connection. We are driven by the need for competence. So the more I ask people to help me, the more I feel incompetent. So I want to
as a man.
Yeah. So
I feel more
incompetent. And which goes against my inherent need for competence. So if I figure things out on my own, and I succeed in whatever solutions that I'm creating for myself, it fulfills my need for competence. Unfortunately, our need for competence is what pulls us back when we are going through a lot. And then now at the end of the day, we think we have to figure things out on our own, and we die alone in isolation. And some men do not commit suicide, but they now become sexually promiscuous. They drink more than they should, to an extent that it affects their work, it affects their relationships, their marriages. Others are driving at a speed whereby if you can hit a pothole, it might affect the whole car. And then if they get involved in any form of an accident, they are going to die a very painful death. People who drive at 220 kilometers per hour under normal circumstances. And it is usually men who tend to be absent-minded, because that's how they cope with the harsh realities of having to be present and strong enough to deal with whatever that needs to be dealt with. You know, I think we need to talk about these things. Even to be a boyfriend is not easy.
It's not easy.
To be a girlfriend is easy.
And say more, what do you mean?
You don't need a car to be a girlfriend. You don't need money to be a girlfriend. You don't even need a career. You don't even need to be working. But who would accept a man who does not have money, who's not working, who does not have a car, who does not even have an apartment. Have you ever seen the memes on social media where a man would say, baby, I lost my car, and then the face starts changing to that handsome guy to the ugliest person that you have ever known? So there are so many pressures. If you go for a date, who is expected to pay the bills?
It's the man.
It's the man. So you can be a girlfriend and not have money and you are still okay. So we are the ones, and the pressure is on us. And there are lots of people who advocate for that in their social media platforms. And some are more knowledgeable than me, I have to admit. These people are experts who would say a woman is not supposed to pay for a date. But now, is this a transaction? Is it a financial transaction, or is it an emotional connection? So love cannot happen just because the man does not have money to fund it. What are we saying to our men?
The pedestrian does not have a car.
The saddest thing now is Affirmative Action and Employment Equity Act, where I know it's a good thing because
it's a good program policy.
It accommodates the previously disadvantaged people, and the most previously disadvantaged person is the Black woman, and the most privileged person in the past is the white man. But the thing is, even I myself, I was either not born or too young, maybe a toddler or an infant, when a man benefited over women. So now women are prioritized for jobs, for management positions, for political positions and funding. And if your business does not have a woman in it, it might not get funding and things like that. I was not there when my father was privileged and my grandfather and my mother was not privileged. So we are a society that suffers the repercussions of the imbalances that happened in the past, even though we were not there. But those imbalances, where they are addressed, where like females, maybe women are given more privilege than men to address the imbalances, they don't also give the responsibility that now that you guys have the privilege of having first preference in getting jobs and businesses and leadership positions, pay the bills as well.
To bring that equality as well. Yeah.
The financial power has moved from men, but the bills are still expected to be paid by them. There cannot be a trip that is not funded by a man. If people want to spend maybe a night at the hotel, it must be the man who funds it. And that has become a culture that I can regard as toxic, because it's one of the cultures that are killing a lot of men in our society across the globe. Yes, I know we have a strong history of patriarchy. I did say patriarchy, it's not
actually
just
a burden,
only a privilege, it's actually a burden. And that's one of the things. The expectations of patriarchy are still with us, but the privilege of patriarchy is given to the other gender. So that creates an imbalance and a very, very uncomfortable position for men to be in.
And you're saying that's toxic as well?
That is part of the toxic elements that put too much strain upon a male species.
And you're saying we're not talking enough about that type of toxicity?
Yeah, we're not talking enough about that. Yeah. We talk about men must learn to cook because it's a life skill. Men must learn to clean. Men must do all the chores. Yes, they must do all the chores, but they must pay the bills. And then as men, we are expected to be present and to provide at the same time. And those things don't always go together. For me to be present, it means I'm not providing, because I cannot be present with you under the bridge. So for me to provide, it means I'm not present because I have to be away and do the work. So how do we balance that? If I have to provide and you expect me to be present, how am I going to do that? Because one thing means I don't have to do the other. And the other thing is also having to actually, be, like I said, be the last line of defense when it comes to everything. Like if the wife does not have money to buy clothes for the children, they come to you. Children don't have clothes. The electricity is running out. Like everything that requires some kind of finances or some kind of strength is expected from a man.
So men are more often than not ATMs.
Yeah, absolutely. Their relationships are now
More transactional, you said.
Yeah, are more transactional now, and it's one of the things that cause unnecessary pressures. That being said, as men, we have a challenge to work hard, very very hard, especially if you have girls, as one of your children, if you have daughters. You know, a few days ago, I was sitting in the estate where I stay, but next to the lifestyle center there was a car that was a very, very beautiful luxury car. You know, this BMW's i8. It was silver in color. It was just here next to me. Every girl between the age of 18 and 22, when they saw that car, they melted. They had to literally, you could see that these people are running out of their minds. And then they would stop and pose in front of the car, take pictures. They would be so fascinated.
They aspire to own that.
I hope they aspire to own it. Because how I know our girls is that they aspire to date a person who owns it. Because I was looking for that. It's just that the owner didn't appear and I had to leave. I wanted to see what happens if the owner appears. So that gave me actually an impression that, you know what, people driving these cars, they are our daughters and our sisters. Their well-being, their safety depends on those people, self-control. But that person can take all those girls, destroy their futures, have sex with them, pay expensive hotels and take them to Dubai and all those things. So it will be very difficult. It will be another pressure that is added to us as fathers who have daughters for a polo driver to be the first man to take your child to a restaurant, for example. And
you're saying that she would not want to be in a polo. She would want to be in that car.
No, like for example, if you are a father and you have never taken your child to a restaurant, and she's taken to the restaurant, because I don't want to speak the Lamborghinis, and because that is sometimes too far-fetched. Because most fathers will excuse themselves and I can't buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. But you can do simple things. You can take your girl child to a restaurant. If a polo driver takes her first, you're going to lose her, and that becomes a wound to a father now, a man who is a father, that I failed as a father. Now my daughter is running with polo drivers or Mercedes drivers or Lamborghini drivers. So what I'm trying to say is, as men, that becomes a pressure to us because we love our daughters so much. No man wants to feel like their daughters are being taken advantage of at any given time. I mean, another guy with a very, very these GTIs that make a lot of noise.
They call them Vurpra.
Yes, definitely.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely. I overheard his conversation with his friends saying, you know, with this car, I destroy all these first-year students at the university. So
in fact, it's a key for him to open.
Yeah, because they easily come to him. So as a father for myself, I've got two daughters who are very, very young, and I love them so much.
How old are they?
One is 4, the other is 3. I was very busy during COVID-19. Yeah. So while you were quarantining, I was busy.
You have a lot of sex, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's good, man.
Is that
congratulations
how you speak in your podcast? Okay, so
that's good. Congratulations.
And to me, as a father, that was a pressure on its own. Now I thought, I just want to live a comfortable life and drive just a good car, not an expensive brand. Stay in a comfortable place. But to me, I was like, I think I need to do more with my life so that my children, whatever they see in the streets and their friends say, woo, and my daughters would say, no, come, I'll ask my father to give you a ride. He has a car that's better than that. That's a financial pressure on me, but it's not a financial pressure. It's a motivation for me to say, Lehlohonolo, in the next 6 to 10 years, make sure that you have become a person who can create a fortune for your daughters so that they don't see things for the first time outside of what you have provided. Imagine your daughters don't know anything about fine dining or an aeroplane or going going overseas and someone takes them there for the first time. I'm saying this because I interact with fathers who say, my daughter has given them herself for the guys who actually have money, and she doesn't even listen to me. When I talk to the daughters, and they will be like, my father has to wake up because there's life beyond the life that he has confined me to live. So those people are providing that life for me. And those men, you can tell how much they are breaking. No man wants to live with knowing that they cannot control their daughters.
A sense of failure, where they would say that...
That sense of failure, it's so deep that it can lead to harmful behaviors, including suicide and depression. So that's one of the things that I want to...
Would we have signs? Let's flag this. Would I know that, look, you spoke earlier on about, a lot of, challenges that men go through. But do we know? Do I know? I sit here with you. This, what would be signs? I said to you that I've lived for many, many years with Patriarchy. May his soul rest in peace. And we would go on camps, would go, all over. The presidents would do lots of work, good work. He is the founder of Kulumandot. But I had no, and because I would say that I am a layperson. I am not Lehlohonolo. I'm not trained. Would there be signs that someone or family members would know that, when this happens, this would be a red flag, or this would be a sign? Who is there? I'm talking, you're giving us an insight. You are a professional, you are trained, but I'm sitting here, do I know, are the tools that you could give me and say, when Ambu said, these are the signs. When this happens, or, is there such a thing?
The biggest red flag that we miss most of the time is when men act strong. One day I was speaking to...
Interesting. Say more about it. You're saying one day you were...
I was talking to men at one of the high schools, and then there was this man who stood in front of the other men when they were contributing. He actually walked to stand in front of the other men, and he spoke about his experiences, the wife who's divorced him and now is denying him access to his children and all those things. And then he said something with deep conviction. He said, whatever is happening and whatever I'm going through, you will never hear from any platform that I have taken my life. I've taken my own life. I will never in my life commit suicide.
This was this man saying.
That is what he was saying, and everybody applauded him. I looked at him. Because as therapists and counselors, we listen to what people are not saying. Sometimes the message is in the opposite of what you were saying. We are just trying to convince ourselves.
Is it a facade?
Something like that. So when he was done, on his way to his seat, I stood up, grabbed him by the hand, pulled him roughly to myself, gave him a very, very, very strong hug. Firstly, he tried to push me away. I pulled him back. I think he attempted twice or thrice to push me away, and I pulled him back, and I just held him, refused to let go. That man bursted into tears. Like he cried hysterically. I had to go out with him and give
the
him
same man. A few minutes you had said that.
Absolutely. And then after some time, he cried for about 30 to 45 minutes. And after some time, he said to me, "Thank you. Thank you. I felt the sense of assurance and love in your hug, and I felt that if someone can go out of his way and see into me what I'm not telling, then there's hope." He said to me, "If you had not come and done that, tonight was the night. There's a rope that is hanging in my garage."
Same man who said in his talk that you will never. Yeah. So you're saying that that's the red flag when we act strong as men.
Yeah, definitely. Every man, when they say they will never do anything, is because they are battling with the urge to do it. Can I say every man? Let me not say every man.
Most.
But most men when they say I will never do something, is because there's a strong urge to do it. I would never cheat on my wife. I would never beat my wife. And they say it with
gusto, with passion,
aggression. I will never beat my wife. I will never kill myself. I will never, you know, I will never drink. I will never sleep with anyone else. They are trying to talk themselves out of it.
What do we do then? If I hear this, what do I do? I'm a layperson. What do I do?
That's why you need to understand the thought patterns and the language patterns of people. And everybody can do it. It doesn't take a therapist. Don't believe everything anyone says. For example, I was talking to this man, husband and wife, and then the wife raised something about people. What would people say? That man said, I don't care what people would say. I said to him, it's because you care too much what people would say. That's why you're saying that. He said, what do you mean? I said, if your wife can tell her family just the fraction of what you're doing to her, and then she said, I would kill her. What if she can tell it at work? She said, I hope she doesn't. I said, you see, you said you don't care because you care too much. So we cannot understand, especially men, if we cannot hear what they are not saying in what they are saying, because you just flip the coin. You know, I usually say the brain does not hear nots and don't.
Does not hear
nots and don'ts. Like, for example, now I'm going to give you an instruction. Whatever you do not think about the pink elephant.
Pink elephant?
Yeah, whatever you do not think about a pink elephant.
I've never seen a pink elephant.
But are you thinking of a pink elephant so that you don't think about it? I'm sure that because for you to say you've never seen a pink elephant, you try to visualize it in your mind.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I actually, because before I gave you the instruction, you never thought about a pink elephant.
Yeah.
Anyway, but when I say do not think about a pink elephant,
then it began the process.
It's like it's like your brain hears, it's like it silences do not.
And then I went straight. I thought about
the pink elephant.
I was thinking about.
Yeah, and I've seen this in a number of sessions that I had with couples, and and
you're doing it now with me now.
Yeah, definitely.
I can tell that.
Yeah, anything can happen at any time.
No, I can tell that you're doing it with me.
Yeah, but I promise I'm not going to do it.
We're in a session already.
Don't worry. Maybe now you are under a hypnosis. You don't even know it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Don't worry.
I'm getting afraid now. Yeah.
I would never do that to you.
Okay.
So men, it's like they read from the same script. When I say, okay, you told me what you don't want about the marriage. Tell me what you want. And they would say, I don't want to lose my wife. And I would say, the brain doesn't hear don't. It sort of silences it. So remove don't and say that again. You can say it. You can pretend to be the man who says, I don't want to lose my wife, but your brain does not hear don't, and it erases it. What are you going to say? You are going to say, I want to lose my wife.
I want to lose my wife.
Because you said, I don't want to lose my wife. So we remove that don't. It says, I want to lose my wife.
Yeah.
And now your brain is going to provide all the data and the signals that will help me to lose your wife, because that's what it has of you. So we need to look for things like that in men. If they say, I don't want to commit suicide.
Would they verbalize? Would I verbalize? I don't want to commit suicide.
Yeah, that's what they verbalize. But what they're experiencing is, I want to commit suicide. That is why I say the biggest red flag that we miss is when men act strong and say they would never. I would never commit suicide. I would never give up. I would never give myself to alcohol and drugs. I would never cheat on my wife. I would never beat my wife. People who don't have.
So you're saying at that time that there needs to be intervention.
People who know that they want to do it. They don't feel that. People who don't feel the urge to do it, they don't feel the need to say they want.
Say that again.
People who don't have the urge to beat their wives, to cheat on them, to commit suicide, they do not have the need to say they won't do it.
Because they are not doing it all.
Because they don't have the urge to do it.
They don't have the urge.
So once you say, I don't want to do it, I can't do it, it means it's playing out somehow, somewhere in your mind.
And you're saying that it's a struggle. I'm resisting.
It's something that you are struggling with, and you communicate it as something that you don't want to do. I'm never going to commit suicide. I'm never, ever going to leave you. As a lady, don't be too quick to be excited. If your man says out of the blues, I'm never, ever going to leave you. Usually they are battling with the urge to leave. So they have to provide a reassurance to bring themselves back. So by failing to listen to the opposite of what the men are telling us, we miss out on what they are experiencing. And that's why you will hear people who like, who's that guy? Ricardo Mercado or something. Ricky,
the musician.
Yes. Yeah. One of the last posts that was circulated that he said is that, I promise you when I'll come back stronger. Who said we want your strength? We want your well-being. We want you to be well. So it feels like he felt like he was failing to be as strong as a man is expected to be. He said, okay, I'll
come back stronger.
Let me go. I'll come back stronger. And people who commit suicide, it's very rare that they think what they are doing is permanent. They think they are going to die until all the problems disappear and they will come back again. They don't think about the realities of what's happening, what's going to happen if they do. That's why most of the people who put the rope around their neck, once they kick the chair, they look around for someone to rescue them, because the pain of not being able to breathe for about 45 minutes sometimes, it's
huge.
It's huge. It's very, very huge. So when people think about loss and not gain, they are likely to feel like there's nothing else to live for. Sometimes I make jokes with some of my clients and my friends, someone going through a divorce and this person is down and out. And I used to be like that. I went through a divorce myself over about 9 years ago. So got married the second time. And when I was going through that divorce, I was 9 years in the profession as a counselor. And I was heavily depressed. Like I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder with psychotic symptoms, like losing touch with reality. I was psychotic because I was going through a divorce. And I learned a lot of things from those experiences. And I thought, couples need me, but men need me more. And that's what I'm trying to transition into in my practice, like focusing on men more than anyone else. I usually tell them now, what you're going through is not all there is, bruh. You're going through a divorce now. If you can fly to Dubai, you're going to have so much fun. If we can go anywhere in the world and let's just go and just I don't want to say this, but let me say it because that's the joke. Those are some of the jokes. I'll pay for an escort who will give you a massage with happy ending so that you can see that there's so much to enjoy regardless of what you're going through.
Because there's life after.
Yes, because people who commit suicide, they think what they are going through is all there is. They think 3 things. My problems are permanent. That's how our brain is wired. When you go through something, the brain will treat it as permanent so that it can survive it. But sometimes thinking that it's permanent, we don't see ourselves out of it. And then we think it's the end. Like you lose a job now. Yes, you have 6 months without a job and it's affecting you. And it's normal to feel, hey, this new status of mine is permanent. Things can change in a day. You can submit a CV today and tomorrow they call you, they say, come to an interview and then you have a job. But we think being unemployed is permanent. We think the pain of going through separation and divorce is permanent. You will always feel this way. I will always feel this way. They dump you once, they will always dump me. Like everything that happens, any disappointment, it will always be this way. Thinking the problems are permanent, it actually puts us in a tight spot where we end up wanting to take our own life or dying by suicide. Number 2 is thinking the problems are pervasive. It's like, I have a problem, my marriage is ending. It feels like my whole life is ending. You have good friends, good support system, good family, and you are having a good career. And those things have not ended. But because one thing is ending, we think everything is ending. I mean, you lose a good friend. It feels like you lost your own life. You lost your own life, and now you can't even show up for your children and your family because you don't even see them as a blessing that you have left. And thinking problems are pervasive is driven by our tendency to focus on what's left, what has left, rather than what's left. So what has left rather than what we have left. When you lose it, it's painful to lose a job, but it doesn't mean I lost everything. Yes, I might lose my car and my house. I might lose my security. But as long as there's a pulse, there's a purpose, bruh. As long as the heart beats, there's something to live for. Life can be better. Things can change. Nothing stays the same. There are things that we call miracles. Some people, you don't even know you have already killed yourself. Diagnosis. When you can get diagnosis killed faster than the disease. Have you ever seen a person who was running marathons healthy? Now they complain about pain in the stomach, go to see the doctor, and the doctor says you have cancer and you have 6 weeks to live. Instead of that person saying, no, I've been running marathons and I'm going to beat this, they sort of conform to the doctor's diagnosis because the doctor is the expert. And now you try to conform to the diagnosis. And it happens. You think you are tired and you get diagnosed with depression and all of a sudden you are depressed. So that's actually has to do with the mindset at the end of the day that, okay, now I'm dying. The doctor said I'm dying. Even if I feel like I'm alive, I'd rather doubt that reality. That person cannot get it wrong. So like, what we know about things can kill us more than the things themselves. What you know about what you're going through can kill you more than what you are going through. So people are not necessarily killed by the divorce, the job loss, the loss of loved ones. They are killed by how they take and perceive and what they think about the losses, the job loss. They think, oh my goodness, I'm going to be the most useless person alive and forever. No. If you can look at things that are left, you are left with the strength of the human spirit. You are still skilled. You might have forgotten some of your skills, but it's not forever. You are down, but you're not going to stay down. You can rise up again, and it can happen anytime. So I was talking about cancer. They say you are dying in the next 6 months because of cancer. The cure can be discovered in the next 2 weeks or 2 days before you die. But we don't think that way because we don't want to disappoint ourselves. So we'd rather die thinking, I'm dying. There's this guy who's a TikTok sensation. You're an old man. I know you wouldn't understand that. But you look like you're a very young person. So I know that you will. Ageism. Yeah, ageism. Oh my goodness. I didn't know you know about ageism.
Well, there are lots of things that you don't know that I know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So what's the use of me participating in this podcast?
So you're saying, I wouldn't know the TikTok. Tell us about it.
There's this guy, the tall, I don't know where he comes from. The tall, skinny guy who lost 2 jobs because of COVID-19. And then 2 years later, his net worth was over $8 million because of TikTok. They call him, the guy, Kabi.
It's from Senegal.
Yeah. Yes.
Senegal is in the Free
He's
State.
from
here.
Senegal.
Senegal.
Not the Free State, Senegal. You have to travel the world to know that.
Oh, you mean
there's a Senegal
see,
beyond the Senegal.
No, the Senegal, the one that in Africa.
We're not going to Senegal. We are talking about Senegal.
Okay, Senegal. Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah.
That guy lost both of his jobs. He lost his worth, but he didn't allow that to press him down to an extent that he stays down, he commits suicide. He just said, let me use the smartphone that I still have, shoot videos, make some observations, and show people how it's done. And then he did that consistently. 2 years later, he was a millionaire. Now everybody knows about him. Now he will be taking a picture with Snoop Dogg, the Will Smiths, the Auntie Lawrences. Like now he moved from a TikToker to an actual international celebrity. So and that happened when he lost everything. So people, especially men, they don't think that the loss of a job can be a beginning of something that will make me a multi-millionaire. Not in rent, in dollars.
In dollars.
Because if we can, nationalize the currency, if you are a millionaire in Zim dollar, you will say you're a millionaire. So, So what I'm saying is sometimes we give up not knowing that the solutions to the problems...
We give up easily?
We give up easily.
Quickly?
Too easily, too quickly. Not knowing that the solutions to the problems we have, they might not come tomorrow. But day after tomorrow, something might happen. And
this is more pronounced. You'll find it more among men. That's what...
Absolutely. I'm a man myself, and I'm a professional counselor. But let me shock you. Do you know that I live with major depressive disorder since I was diagnosed? I think before I was diagnosed, I was actually diagnosed in 2008. But I think I lived with it prior to that. And I still live with major depressive disorder now, taking antidepressants every day. I actually can't live without them. I tried. Why am I not killing myself because of that? Why is that not stopping me? Why am I still thriving and flourishing in my life, regardless of the fact that I live with depression? It's because I know that depression is not all there is. And they said to me there's no cure for it. But it's only because of the current knowledge that they have. I like what Les Brown says about the doctor who diagnosed him with a terminal illness. He said when the doctor says you have a terminal illness, I said to him, no, sir, don't say I have a terminal illness. Say your knowledge of treating my illness has terminated. So
you flip the coin.
Yeah, definitely. So the reason why I haven't killed myself and I haven't given up and I'm still taking my medication as prescribed is because I know that this problem, even though they said it's permanent, things can change. Nothing stays the same. Maybe I'm the one who will come up with a cure for depression. So I want to still be around when that happens.
So and this is what we should be saying, or this is what men should be in fact say, but look, is that easy to say this? You have said something earlier when you started that I see there's nothing, this is the end.
Yeah, it's not easy to say because if you say something that is beyond the reality, people will think you are delusional and you will think you are delusional and you will think you are careless. Like if you say, if I say I'm still taking my antidepressants as prescribed because I want to live long enough to experience the cure when it happens. Why? You delusional. I'm not delusional. I know things can change. I mean, not so long ago, neuroscience said the brain is fixed. It's fixed. It develops to a certain stage and it becomes fixed and it can learn new things and all those things. But now new research is discovering that the brain is actually fluid. It's actually, what do we call it? Elastic. We talk about neuroplasticity. So the brain can change in its structure and shape to adapt to the environment. That is why if you stay too long in Alaska, you will start walking on ice without warm clothes because your brain develops new.
And it adjusts.
Yeah, it adjusts. So we used to think the brain is fixed, but now we say the brain is actually elastic. That reality has changed. Now we think HIV is incurable because we have not found. I don't want us to say HIV is incurable. I want us to say we haven't found the cure for HIV yet. I don't want us to say major depressive disorder is incurable. I want us to say we haven't found the cure for depression.
So we want to say the same thing to men that, look, what you are going through is not permanent.
It's not permanent. And even though they said it doesn't mean things won't change. The last thing I talked about thinking the problem is permanent and thinking the problem is pervasive. The last thing, we think the problem is personal. When your wife or your girlfriend dumps you, it's because I'm ugly, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy. You get retrenched. No, because I'm maybe I'm lazy or I'm stupid. We personalize it.
They are targeting me.
Even though we know this is a global pandemic like COVID-19, now you blame yourself that your mother died because of COVID-19. Like, we personalize things, especially as men. We think we have to be strong enough to stop the wave from coming. And when we couldn't stop the wave, we blame ourselves. We need to stop personalizing things, especially things that are negative. You know, if you can personalize things that are good, which we seldom do, and you see someone that you actually spoke to and advised, now they are graduating, and for the second time, you won't say, oh my goodness, look at the contribution that I made. But you see someone now, maybe your child now in the streets, now you personalize it. It's because I'm a bad parent. Some children are just bad children. That doesn't make us bad parents. Sometimes we do what we can and things still don't go as we wanted to. We can't personalize those things. Just because you were the one the person drove in front of on the freeway, it doesn't mean you are the weakest link or you are the person who cannot drive. It could mean that you are careful enough to observe a safe following distance. And because of the following distance, you create a space for someone to drive maybe in front of you. Now you say, I need to get a gun. These people are running over my head because I think I'm a doormat and all those things. No. Let's not personalize things. Sometimes even your own partner, your wife, can disrespect you. Don't say, you know what, I'm not worthy of respect. Say, my wife disrespects me. It's not everybody who disrespects you. Look around and you will see. People think highly of you. People love you. People honor you. So your wife disrespects you. It's not because you are a person who is not worthy of respect. If they cheat on you, I'm talking to women now, your husband cheats on you, it doesn't mean it's because you're ugly. You know, you can be the most beautiful girl in the world like Halle Berry.
Oh, again, you're testing me. You would know that I would have no clue about Halle Berry.
No, you know Halle Berry. Yeah. Like when models were still models and the actress, okay. He was married to
Naomi Campbell at the time.
Naomi Campbell was the other one, but Halle Berry was the hot girl, married to the husband Eric Benet. Yeah. And there was cheating that was reported there.
So true.
You can be the most beautiful woman in the world. They will still cheat on you. You can be the most educated. They will still cheat on you. It's not because you are ugly, uneducated, or stupid. The person that you are married to is a cheat.
It's not you. Yeah, you don't personalize it.
Don't personalize it. So that goes for abuse as well.
Yeah.
Okay. If your partner abuses you, don't say, it's because I don't do what he wants. It's because I keep on provoking him. No, even if you don't provoke him, he will still beat you. I was looking at a meme, like a dog sitting like this, waiting, and they said, that your abusive boyfriend trend. They say your abusive boyfriend waiting for people to leave so that you can tell him why you threw him a surprise party.
I hear you. What do we do? What do we do? Well, what is your if there's one message that men what they're going through? That here's this guy Alex. He's of the view that look, I think that I've come to the end of it. What do we do?
Right. I will come. Let me transition into that by mentioning them, I'm going to just mention them. One of the signs to look for when a man is suicidal. Sometimes they act out of character. They become extra kind because they sort of want to clean their own sins before they go. Sometimes they become too isolated. They have been isolated, but this time they become too always in their rooms, don't want to have contact with people, or when they drink more than they should. Those are some of the signs. Or if they go through one terrible experience on top of the other, that could be one of the signs, because if things are happening that way, sometimes they just wake up and not feel like going to work, and they just don't go. Like they stop enjoying the things that they used to enjoy. You know that this man, when it was time for fishing, he would jump out of bed, but now he says, let them go, leave me here. So they lose interest in the things that they used to love. Sometimes they become extra kind because they are hoping their sins will be forgiven by the time they go. Sometimes they actually drink a lot so that they can get used to drinking, because most of the people, when they commit suicide, especially violently, they drink so that babele black.
Okay.
So they drink too much, and they could maybe start using drugs. Sometimes they spend too much, or they borrow too much money because they know that they're not going to be around to pay it. So things like that. Sometimes they will take you out. You know how many men divorce their wives in a vacation with their wives? Like the wife would say, oh, my man has finally changed. Now we've been to a vacation. And that man is sitting there watching this woman and say, but I think it's time for me to leave this person. So sometimes men, their silence cannot be trusted, but their words cannot be trusted as well. I've already spoken about that. Yeah. So what can we do? Number one, let's continue to educate people about suicide. And let's not call people cowards when they die by suicide. It's not because you're a coward. I know that I'm leaving my children behind. I know that I'm taking the pain outside of me and I'm leaving it with people who don't care. I don't care either, or who care about me. If they cared about me, I wouldn't be where I am, probably. They would have noticed that I'm going through a lot. But now nobody can see it. Nobody can notice it. And one other thing of when a person is down and out and we capitalize on that, we make fun of them. I mean, what Ntate Patriarchy did prior to himself, to him maybe dying by suicide. I used to work very closely with him as well. And actually we were actually planning to resume working together, but he didn't know, together with his wife. When he did that video, I think it was...
There was with
Casper,
yeah.
And then I said to my wife, this is a cry for help. Maybe we should call him. But I kept on postponing. And people took his cry for help and they used it to bash him. You know, the world is very quick to bash people who are down and out. You know, if you want the world to finish you off, just be down and out. The old man was only asking for a boxing match. Maybe he thought, if I can maybe participate in things like this, this young man will give me the physical pain that will at least help me forget a little bit about the internal pain that I'm experiencing. And one other thing about him is that he was actually vocal about things like abuse, which are the things that he used to actually practice. So if you are a man and you have a change of heart and you speak about the things that you did in the past, some people decide not to take lessons from what they are saying or see you as an inspiration. They would say, oh my goodness, now I lost all the respect for him because I didn't know that he was doing that. The man was trying. The man was everywhere. He was educating people. Sometimes it's true. I mean, I educate people about depression, but I still live with depression. Just because we educate people about some things we are struggling with, it doesn't mean I don't have to wait until I'm no longer living with depression for me to start educating people about it. The fact that I experience it, it makes me an activist of it.
Thank you. Lehlohonolo, thank you so much. This is a silent killer, we say, but there's help out there. And in this episode, we hope that you would be able to, you're a man watching us or listening to us, you would be able to say, look, so far, not further. I will go out and seek help. Help is there. We cannot allow it to continue to be the silent killer in our society. Thank you so much for joining us. And Lehlohonolo, that you came and to assist us with your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I hope that next time, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel down and out, remember what he said, that this is not permanent. Nothing is permanent. It may change today, tomorrow, but change will happen. This was his message. I hope you'll be able to go out and stand up as a man and say that I'm going out to seek for help. Help is there in abundance.
This is Tea with Botha.